So my proposal is for a school-based physical activity intervention in Roxbury. So some background, childhood obesity in the United States has reached epidemic proportions. Now, 1 in 5 school-age children is obese. But these rates of childhood obesity are not equally distributed by race and by socioeconomic status. In Boston, there's a significant gap between the rates of obesity in white children versus Black and Latino children. And that gap in Boston is 30%. And it's not equally distributed by socioeconomic status. There was a study conducted by Lee and colleagues from 2009 to 2014 that evaluated the success of the Mass in Motion program, which is a physical activity program for students in Massachusetts. And Lee and colleagues found that there was a significant gap in its success for low socioeconomic groups. So the prevalence of obesity among children from high socioeconomic families was found to be 27% versus a 40% prevalence in children from low socioeconomic families. So my intervention was born from that gap. And in the need to address that gap, I came up with a school-based physical activity intervention that centers the lived experiences of students in Roxbury. Roxbury is a predominantly low socioeconomic neighborhood in Boston, and it has the second highest rates of obesity in the city. So my intervention focuses on utilizing neighborhood outdoor space and accessible activities to get students physically active. It's a cohort study with 2 Roxbury public elementary schools and students in grades 3, 4, and 5. One school used as the control and the other as the intervention. And some of the key goals of my program are to address childhood obesity in a vulnerable population, but also to foster agency regarding physical activity and overall health. Most of the studies I looked at in this area went through families or parents before it addressed the children directly, and this fosters an inclination towards physical activity and a knowledge and understanding around it and around ways to get active that are in the children themselves, so they have more agency when it comes to their health. So the first aim of my study is to track and compare BMI measurements of students at both schools. That's the more quantitative aspect of the study. And the intended outcome is that the mean BMI for students in each grade at the intervention school would be lower compared to the mean BMI at the control school, and that would demonstrate the success of the program. And then aim 2 would be to evaluate perceptions and knowledge of physical activity among students. So this is the more qualitative aspect, and the intended outcome would be an increased knowledge about the accessibility of physical activity in Roxbury, in their neighborhood, and a more positive perception surrounding it. So this would be evaluated by, can they name 1 or more places they could go in their neighborhood to get physically active? Can they name 1 game they could play without equipment that would get them moving? Do they have fun playing these games? This would evaluate if they have an inclination towards physical activity as a result of the program, which would demonstrate its success. So some limitations include the Boston climate. With weather, there would be probably a fair number of days that the students wouldn't be able to get outside. And if they don't have access to a gym at school, then they wouldn't be physically active at all, and that could undermine the results. Natural growth in grades 3, 4, and 5 is a potential confounder for the BMI measurements. There needs to be, at the school, at the program, a walkable distance to various outdoor spaces, or else the program wouldn't work very well. And also the unreliability of BMI as a measurement of health. We talked about that in class. There are other measurements that are more well-rounded, but the simplicity of BMI fits for this study for the teachers to administer the test. Some future directions of this study: early importance of obesity prevention. We've talked about the whole host of chronic diseases that come as a result of obesity. And if this program is successful in attacking childhood obesity head-on, it could demonstrate the importance of early intervention and pave the way for other child-based obesity prevention interventions. This could also be adaptable to any elementary school with access to nearby outdoor spaces, and the hope that if successful, it could be adapted in other places, not just Roxbury. But also this could serve as a roadmap for centering participants' lived experiences. That's important in centering students and centering, their neighborhoods and their realities. And if this intervention is successful, it could demonstrate, reasons for why that is important. So thank you.